In order to model our logo type, we first need to know the proportions. We need to know exactly what are we modeling. For this purpose, we can use reference images. Reference images are usually 2D images from different perspectives that allow us to model the object from different sides, for example, from front and from the left side. Since we're rendering and modeling a logo type, I think only one perspective will be enough. So let's search for the logo type on Google. So we search for Western Sydney University, and in the images part, we search for logo type. And this one's perfect. First of all, it's square, so it's going to be really easily to set up a reference by a square, by square, and we don't need to calculate the proportions. I will explain how to work with disproportional images later on. So let's save this image into a correct location. And in this case, I name it logo reference. And I'll save it into my documents, Maya, projects, tutorial videos, logo, source images, and this is where all my textures come in, right? Now, the next bit is to place this reference image onto our scene. So pressing a space bar over any view creates this separated four split view. I want to model my object from the front perspective, right? So with the square positioned here and modeling it from the front view. So next thing what I'll do, I'm gonna create an empty surface using curve surface modeling. So not the polygonal surface, but the curved surface. The difference is that the texturing of the polygonal surface is a bit more complicated, and the standard surface will make our lives very easy. The next thing what I want to do is in the create polygon primitive, so NURBS primitives, I need to make sure the interactive creation is on. It just makes our creation of the surfaces much simpler. And selecting the surface here, I can just drag it on our view, right? But for now, it really doesn't matter how big it is, because I'm going to even out the dimensions and position of the surface here in the attribute editor. If this is not what you see, click on the middle icon on your top right view, right? Selecting it brings up the attribute editor. So first, in the NURBS plane, we're going to position image back to the center of the universe, so that's 0, 0, 0. And in the make NURB plane, I'm going to say that the ratio of the sides is 1, making it the perfect square. And I'm going to even out the size, for example, to 13, right? So if you would download a reference image that is not a perfect square, you need to make sure that the ratio is correct. So if it would be an image that is, for example, 1000 pixels wide, 500 pixels high, that means the ratio between the sides between 500 and 1000 is 0.5, so on, okay? So this is exactly what I wanted. And the next thing is I want to put a texture on this thing, on this surface. Right? What you want to do, you don't want to start modifying the material of this existing material of this file, which in this case would be the Lambert one, because this is a standard material assigned to every new object in your scene. And then if you would assign it to this material, all the new objects would get this material. So we would see Western Sydney logo on every new object that you would add to the scene. So just remember, Lambert one will always be the correct material. So what we'll do now is we'll assign a new material. In this case, I want non-reflective, boring, single color material, in which instead of, if you change a color here, it would become, for example, pink and so on. We don't want to just change the color. We want to completely replace the color by the file information, by the color stored in the file, and in this case, it's a logo reference. You can see that it conveniently opened already the source images folder of my project. So if I open it, boom, perfect. Unfortunately, I don't see anything in here. The problem is that currently this view is only showing a standard color. So you can see this in it's this icon selected. If you would change these properties here, for example, this one, you say you want to show textured, it allows you to view textured file. The shortcuts for this is number 4 gives you a wireframe, number 5 shows you a standard material. You can see also how the icons are changing. Number 6 turns on the texture, and number 7 also shows you the lights. In this case, we don't have any lights in the scene, so the image will be black because just there is simply no light. So I'll just stick to the textured view, which is starting to look as we want it. So the last thing that I will do is I will create a new layer in which I will put this reference image into a specific layer so that when I model on top of this reference image, I don't want the reference image to come in my way by clicking on it and selecting it. I just want it to stay in the background separately. So what I'll do, I'll select this channel box layer editor, which is this top right icon here. So this was our attribute editor, this is our layer editor. And now when I select the image in the layers part, so here in the bottom right, in the layers part, I say create layer from selected. Double clicking here, I will say reference logo, and you can change this directly here to the reference and I make it visible, right? Changing these properties, okay, sorry, it kind of contains spaces, reference logo. You can change these properties as well here. So V changes whether it's visible or not. R changes whether it's a reference layer, template layer, or standard layer. So in this case, it's a reference layer. Making it the reference layer, if you deselect it, it's no longer possible. Whenever you click on it, select it, deselect it, it's impossible now to select this image, right? Because it's part of the reference layer. So to make it available and selectable again, you have to change it back to the standard layer, and now it's selectable again. Okay, so in the next video, we will start creating our shield and the W letter using standard polygonal modeling techniques.